Hi, everybody. Good morning. Happy Monday. Welcome to episode 12 of Monday Magic and Marketing. We are officially on the final episode of season one. It's been an incredible 3 month journey together. We've had so much fun. We've talked about so many things. I've had so much fun doing the podcast this way. Before I used to just, upload my YouTube videos and um, to my podcast and things like that, and that was cool. But I've always really wanted to do a podcast where we do it in episodes and series and things of that nature. So I'm really glad that we are able to do that this year, 2024, 2023, 2024. So that was the year for this. And so we're going to be talking about how to cultivate client testimonials and reviews, and also how to weave in client success stories when it comes to marketing ourselves online. If you have not listened to the previous episodes before, hi, my name is Christina Quick. I'm also known as the Tarot Biz Mentor online. It's great to connect with you. I have a YouTube channel called Tarot Biz Mentor where I've been creating content over there for like almost a decade now. And I also have an academy, www.theprofitablepsychic.com, where I do a lot of trainings and I release courses, and they all have to do with about having to starting psychic business, starting a tarot reading business, and then like shifting from doing tarot readings, getting into more spiritual life coaching, how to market your business online, how to follow content calendars, and things of that nature. So my specialty, if you guys are here and you can hear me, please let me know. Just put a little emoji or something into the chat box. So my specialty is that and we're really good at content marketing, and specifically when it comes to education based content marketing, because ideally, these days, who I really want to help and who I really want to work with are people who want to set up academies. Thank you. I appreciate the someone sent a little ear. That's so cute. Thank you. That's really who really want to work with these days. And so, thank you, Kirsten. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Hi. Good morning. Happy Monday. Hope you guys had a good weekend. So when I set out to do season one of this podcast, what I really wanted to do is create like an accelerated kind of crash course on everything marketing and how to utilize your magic in that as well. And I think if you've gone through all 12, all 11, all the 11 other episodes, and today makes 12, if you've gone through all of these episodes, then you are pretty much ready to start marketing and running your business. I think that we like to complicate things, but really, truly, I tried to focus on like the most important strategies that are going to give you the best results, right? Cut out a lot of that like time that we're spending where we're not sure if we're actually doing something that's going to help our business move forward. We're not sure if we're actually generating leads, and we're not sure if this is actually, going to hopefully convert into our income and helping us to create money online so that we can open up our own schools and help other students that are going through similar things that we're going through, and really help us embody and actualize that light worker archetype in our lives, because a lot of us identify here as being light workers, people who want to make the world a better place, but also want to help other people out of their own darknesses and give them the tools that they can utilize in whatever method, whatever vehicle in which you use. Some of you are shamans, some of you are healers, and some of you are tarot readers, some of you are psychics, some of you are mediums, some of you are yoga people. So, whatever your modality or modalities are, in order to help people heal themselves, giving people the tools to heal themselves. And so that's what I was really like, that was my intention coming out and setting up this podcast and really getting everybody up to speed. So the next season, what we're going to be focusing on, and I hope to pick that up probably, probably that's going to be coming back in later this year. After all the, because right now we're basically getting into conventions and fairs, psychic fairs, and big conferences and things like that. It's basically the season for that now. So I'm going to be taking a break from the podcast, you know, working on that, and then we'll come back to it when it gets cold and snowed in again, and we can gather around and have these cozy little chats. And I love it because I really feel like this podcast. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like doing this podcast has really helped set the tone of my week. And I don't know if you guys can agree with that. If you can agree with that, let me know. If you guys really look forward to Mondays and, getting these trainings and just having this roundtable talk where we're just talking about different aspects of business. And I think it's such a way to get into the mindset, the right mindset that we need in order to feel successful. And when we feel successful, then our physical reality will mirror that, right? We'll start getting more sales. We'll start getting more people who are interested in our work. We'll start feeling better about our work-life balance. So I just feel like starting Mondays off with these podcasts has just been such a treat. Not only probably for you guys, but also for me too. I've really, really enjoyed it. And I like the fact that they keep me accountable. So we're going to continue with the podcast. Okay. And we're going to start that a little bit later this year, and we will pick it back up. We're going to be talking about more about the energetics behind selling, and more about like, we're going to talk more about boundaries, um, how to manage your online presence, how to, um, because a lot of you are great at helping people, but a lot of you are not great at converting those people into actual buyers. So that's a pain point for a lot of people. And so how can we, bridge that gap? So that's what's going to be coming up later this year. We will be moving over starting in March. We will be moving over to another series. So this is not going to be a series that's in the Facebook group. There will be a study group chat that I've already set up. And what it is, it's basically a chat that's linked to the Facebook group. And how that's going to work is my goal is to release 2 videos per week of all of the major arcana. We're starting a new series called um, Tarot Card Meanings, the Major Arcana, but for spiritual life coaching. So those of you who are still wanting to incorporate, still those of you who want to do spiritual life coaching or want to get more into spiritual life coaching, or you are a tarot card reader, and you're like, I don't know if I want to get fully into spiritual life coaching, but I kind of want to start dancing around that, just kind of get into it a little bit. This will kind of help you bridge that gap. And then, the way I look at tarot cards is like they're kind of like training wheels, right? Tarot cards are training wheels, and not just training wheels. I mean, but tarot is very, very deep and it's very complex, and you can go as deep as you want to, and you can do Kabbalah and astrology and numerology and all these, spiritual things. But for the most part, I think that when it comes to like spiritual life coaching and people who have psychic abilities, they're kind of like training wheels. And once you kind of learn the language of tarot, which is kind of like a simplified version of the law of attraction, sort of. And each card kind of represents like different rites of passage, different human experiences that the tarot really is like a moving book, a living book of um, different times and different periods and different experiences that we all kind of go through, right? And so it's really helpful when we're doing tarot readings, flashcards, very sophisticated flashcards, exactly. But once you really learn that language, for me personally, like I thought there would never be a day where I could do readings without tarot cards. And now I really prefer to do readings without tarot cards. And if that is an aspiration that you have, you will get there. And I think that this series that we're going to do is really going to help you get there. And we're going to focus mainly on the major arcana first, because if you break down the 78 cards, I mean, there's like 3 main sections, right? So there's court cards, which are supposedly like players, in your life, other people in your life, or like archetypes to embody. And then there are the pips, which are like the mundane, everyday, day-to-day kind of things. And then you have the majors, which is like these major rites of passage, these major spiritual overarching themes in our lives that we kind of go through. Turning points. I always look at the majors as sort of like a crossroad point, so wherever you are on the road to the world towards the end, as the fool goes through the 21 majors, we go through these different periods in life. And tarot is very helpful, especially the major arcana, in helping us understand what those times are and what those periods are and what they kind of like feel like and what the higher purpose is, right? How this all leads into like what is your actual higher purpose? What is your actual divine life purpose? But after a certain point, when you do, I mean, a lot of you are on the psychic hotlines and a lot of you have done at this point thousands of readings. So and are on Etsy. And so after a certain point, you start recognizing themes and you start recognizing like what people say and how they feel that they're blocked. And you're like, oh, well, that's a tower situation. Oh, well, or that's a chariot situation, and you start thinking about the tarot cards and how it relates to what's going on. And so that's one way that you can start doing psychic readings without using tarot cards. Just do it mentally in your brain. So if you ever wanted to like practice doing psychic readings, but you don't want to use tarot cards, you can just do like random tarot cards in your brain and do readings that way. Or you can kind of listen into what is going on with this person and apply their situation to different tarot cards. And then you have a whole well, you have a reservoir of spiritual wisdom, that you can kind of tap into. And it will help you get to the point where you can start channeling and doing that consistently and doing it in a very helpful way. But, anyways, that's what we're going to be focusing on come March. And then there will be a private study group. Now, after that, I'll probably go back to creating, we're going to go through like not, I don't know if I'm gonna do the whole tarot deck, but I'm gonna definitely talk about, like, the elements. I definitely wanna do, like, a workshop on the elements and how to do a divine life purpose map using the elements, like, for example, fire and wands. To me, when I'm doing spiritual life coaching is, that all has to do with, like, your ambition, your passion, your purpose, your career, whereas, cups or water might be your personal relationships, your familiar relationships, your work relationships. It might be your emotional state, your emotional intelligence, right? It might also be how you relate to other people in an emotional way and like certain ways that you bond with people and things like that. It has that more of like what is fulfilling in life. And then, we can talk about the other elements and then talk about the court cards. So I'm very excited about doing this. I don't ever want to give tarot up. I love my cards. I find myself speaking more without them though, and that's okay. And I love, the tarot cards are always great to just have there because they are a transcenductor, right? So the act of shuffling cards, the act of um, clearing your mind out while you're shuffling the cards or focusing your intention, however you choose to do it, and then laying them out. It's a very ritualistic process, and in that ritualistic process, you kind of alter your state, and so it's a key, it's a gateway to going into some sort of transcendental state where you can then become a clear channel. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love cards, and even if it's not like I don't need the cards themselves, just the ritualistic aspect of utilizing cards is great sometimes, and it helps you focus that intention. And so, even if you don't read them, it's still kind of helpful sometimes to have some sort of like process in which you um, are accessing your psychic abilities and your intuitive gifts. So today we're going to be talking about how to cultivate client testimonials and how to weave in client success stories in your marketing approach. Now, we all know, I think this has been driven into us. We all know how important that cultivating and receiving reviews really is. I mean, reviews and testimonials are, it's really difficult to build a business, especially online, without some kind of review system. I mean, if we look at Etsy, and Etsy won't even like pick up your shop and start advertising you unless you have some recent reviews, good reviews, right? Because that's how the algorithm knows that your shop is relevant and that you're getting good results and that you are a quote unquote safe shop to promote, meaning that You're not going to just take people's money and then, just not do their reading. That's kind of like how Etsy kind of views it. And that's why they favor people who give good reviews. Um, on the psychic hotlines, how many of us sat there sometimes for weeks on end waiting for that first couple calls to get reviews and testimonials on our psychic hotline, and then our second hotline link. And then, once we get that, then the calls start coming in because, again, algorithm starts favoring you. But then on the consumer side of it, reviews are pretty important. I mean, they're pretty important, but they're not like the end all be all. Like, a lot of us are, oh gosh, how many of you are still trapped in that paralysis of you don't want to piss anybody off remotely because you don't want to get a less than a 5-star review? It's what I call review like testimonial blackmail, right? Kind of like you might bend over backwards, you might break some boundaries that you have. You might do things that are uncharacteristic of you and of your self worth in order to hopefully prevent a negative review from happening. How many of us have spiraled, spiraled and spiraled and spiraled at the thought of, maybe this person isn't going to give me a good review? And then how many of us have, we've all had this, hopefully, most of you have had this happen at some point where you finally do get your bad review, and then you're like, oh, well, okay, I guess the world hates me now, right? So we, in our industry, in the psychic industry, but also in the spiritual coaching industry, it's very much we're still pioneering this industry. In the 1980s is really when it's so. Good morning, good morning. The 1980s is really when we started becoming more of there's life after a negative review. There is, and it's not the worst thing in the world. I promise you. And we're going to talk about why it's not the worst thing in the world too. So, anyways, the 80s is when that's when we started getting like the Miss Cleo commercials and, oh, what was that one? Like Christiana's preferred psychic network or something. There was a couple of them. Um, and reviews were very, very important to that process. But now, let's say since 2000, I would say since like 2010 to 2024, there has been a big explosion in this industry. Daytime TV was rife with them, yes, because they were targeting stay-at-home moms and housewives, and that were like, "Oh, is my husband cheating on me?" That kind of thing, where they have nothing better to do but contemplate all the potentially negative things going on in their mind, that impulse buy. But there's been a huge explosion, and the thing is that we're still in a very what I considered wild wild west kind of industry where there's not a lot of micromanaging. There's no requirement that you don't, like, for example, when I was in the hair world, or I was a beautician for since I was 19 up until I was I think 26 or something like that. So for about 10 years or so, I did hair. And the red tape in order to do that is you have to go to school. You have to pay about 20 grand to go to school for a year. Then you have to pass certifications, and then you have to pay annually for your licensure. And then you have to do continuing education. And, if you're a massage therapist, you understand it's not standardized. And so you have to make your own and show it right. So that's exactly it. So it's not standardized. And that's good. I think that that's a good thing. I am not for big government coming in and sticking their sticky little fingers into our industry, because I feel like we are trying to create an industry outside of that. And we could talk all day about the pros and cons of that. But typically speaking, yeah, there's always going to be scammers. There's always going to be people who are, conducting fraud. There's always going to be people from third world countries trying to feed themselves. I mean, who can you really be mad at those people that are like, they're starving in third world countries and they're just trying to like make a few bucks to feed their family, and they're scamming people online. It's like, are you a victim of your environment, or are you a predator? And does your, environment make you turn you into a predator? And then we can talk about things like wealth inequality, and we can talk about things like racial inequality, and we can talk about religious inequality and things like that. So there's layers to it, but we can't spend our time being mad at those people that do that, because obviously, I think that in most cases, if they could choose a different path, a different career, I think that they would. And I don't think that they would, settle so much into over the past how long is probably since the pandemic, that those people, the scammers, the fraud people, have been coming into our industry, and it's made it really difficult. So now, more than ever, testimonials and client success stories are really part of what's going to help you establish your business in a way where people are going to build trust with you. And the thing is too is that, yes, there are people entering this industry like every single day. There are new baby tarot readers coming up, new baby psychics coming up every day. And then there's, people that are shifting into different aspects of this business, shifting out of doing card readings and fortune telling, getting more into doing spiritual life coaching. And then from there, you can set up your own academy, and then you become more of a teacher. And then there's a path. If you're in the luxurious light worker lifestyle program, which is my all inclusive comprehensive program, that's like start to finish, your first dollar to your first million in sales. This goes through the 6 phases of business. So there's different phases you move in and out of, and certain things are going to fall away. They're not going to become as important. And just getting reviews on Etsy and getting reviews on your psychic hotline, we have to kind of evolve ourselves past that, because people who are looking for spiritual life coaches don't tend to shop or look at reviews in the same way that people might, that they are shopping or looking for a tarot reader to do a 3 card reading for $25, right? There's a substantial difference between someone who is looking to pay, let's say, upwards of $500 to $1,000 to take a course or to work with a coach one-on-one, versus someone who just wants a, $75 tarot reading. So how does that change? Well, first things first is that you have to understand that kind of like the burden of you being a legitimate person, it falls onto you. And so you may be the most legit person out there, and you may have the most legit business out there, and you may come to your work every single day like, yes, I'm going to help people and I'm going to change lives. And you might be the biggest rock star when it comes to shadow work, or when it comes to psychic development or something like that. But if you aren't posting, if you aren't showcasing your testimonials and writing them and asking for testimonials in such a way that you are helping people move through their doubts and fears around you as a spiritual life coach, then you're missing a really big part of the marketing puzzle, because they're not going to be looking at your Etsy, they're not going to be looking at your site outline reviews. So how is someone going to know that you are a legitimate person, right? So there are some things we can do, like, for example, we can pay for the meta verified tag on Instagram or Facebook. We can um, get monetized on YouTube. We can get monetized on Facebook and things like that. And all of that kind of comes with like these little check marks and these little badges that say, yes, this is a real person. Yes, you can more or less trust this person. But I think the most important thing at this point is to really understand that not just reviews and testimonials are going to cut it anymore. Like, in the beginning, you're like, just give me a review, just give me a testimonial. And you're like, you'll just take anything. You'll just take anything that they say. And you're like, oh, thank God, because at that point, you're just like, you're going around kind of begging for reviews and testimonials, right? You're like, please, please, please just leave me a testimonial. But, there comes a point where not all testimonials are good, and it comes a point where when you're working on Etsy and the psychic hotline, it's about quantity. It's like getting, you would rather have 100 mediocre reviews that show consistency over a period of time. Whereas when you're a spiritual life coach and you're primarily, working on social media, then it becomes more of like, okay, quality reviews over the quantity of reviews. right? And there's a healthy balance in between there. True, everyone is watching out for being scammed, even on our end, making sure we don't work for free. Oh, you know what? It's so funny. So I follow the and they're fast too because especially on Instagram, I followed this lady and she is a witch person and she makes like art or something like that. And she also sells tarot readings. And it's funny because in in her description she says, "I will never DM you for a reading." So this other person, right? And we see that a lot. Will never DM you for a reading. That's like if someone messages you, it's probably not me, right? Because at a certain point, we can only do what we can do, and we can't just sit here and spiral about all of these fake accounts trying to, scam people in our names and things like that. So I was probably within 5 minutes of following this account. I had a scam account follow me back, and she whoever it was, ended up copying that person's Instagram and even in the description of the scammer is that I will never DM you for a reading. And then within 5 minutes they DM me and said, "Hey, I really like your energy. Could I consider you for a reading? I think you've got some negative attachments to you and I can help you clear them, blah, blah, blah." And they go into that whole spiel. And I'm just sitting here thinking, how dumb do you think that people are? But I guess people are falling for it. So I was like, oh boy, and it's like, it's just rife with that. So, anyways, okay, so how do we go from asking for any review to then asking for good reviews and good reviews that are actually going to help us sell, right? So there is a strategy and it's called the 3-point question review. And this is the one that I utilize all the time. So when you go to ask for people for reviews, and so when I ask for people for testimonial and reviews, it's usually after or towards the end of a package or course that they're working with me. So I tend to wait until we're just about through with the commitment that we've signed up. So whether that's like going through a course, or doing a life group program with me, or maybe they signed up for like 3 or 6 months worth of coaching, I will wait until that kind of endpoint, and I will then ask them, say, "Hey, I would really love if you would be interested in writing me a testimonial for our time together." And I always offer, and it's always like a limited time thing. Like I don't just do it like for anybody, but it's like I will do it for like the first 10 people. Like say if I'm doing a live group program, then I will offer a um, gift to people, which is I will do a um, 3-card tarot card reading, any question, as a gift from me to you for writing me a review because I ask specific questions and it's more about, it's a little bit more work for them to sit down and write the review. They have to kind of think about their answers. So I always want to reward that behavior. And it's always the people, and I set minimums. Like, if you've ever done it for me, it's usually a 250 word minimum, right? And then I ask 3 questions that must be answered with specific details. So the questions that I ask are, um, what was your life or what was your energy like before you started working with me? Number 2, what is your energy or your life or your whatever like after working with me? What has changed? Can you give specific examples? Can you give it like 1 or 2 specific examples of where things really changed for you? And then the third question is, if one of your friends asked you if they should take the program, what would you say to them? Okay. So those are the 3 questions that I ask, and I require a 250 word minimum reply. And so that's how I get really amazing reviews and testimonials. And I am so bad about using them. Like I have a Google folder full of just probably 100 reviews and testimonials that I need to start pushing out more. And we all go through that. Like we're like, "Ugh, we don't want to like brag about ourselves, or we don't want to we sometimes I think we feel like if we post reviews, it kind of cheapens like our brand and things like that, but that's not really true. It's really about how much love are you willing to receive, and that's something I talked about in Lux Lightworker. That may be something that you remember we talking about a lot in that program is It all kind of goes back to how much love are you willing to receive, right? What is your capacity to receive praise? What is your capacity to receive love? And at a certain point, this is why I like to like gift the tarot card reading to people because then I feel like okay, that energy exchange has been we're equal, right? We're I don't have to feel like, "Oh, well, I'm getting something more out of them than I should be getting out of them," And also really looking at, like, reviews and people who will leave you reviews as such a sacred energy exchange, right? Because people don't have to. People and that's something we have to realize is that people don't have to leave us reviews. They don't have to tell their friends about us. They don't have to do anything about when people purchase with us, that is the expectation has been met, right? You exchange your services or you exchange your products or whatever, and that's it. The deal is done. But when we go beyond that and we request and we put a request out there for reviews, testimonials, then I think we really have to see it as, something really sacred and holy, and then that will kind of help us be able to rely on that a little bit more and, posting about it. And the reason why I say that having bad reviews is not necessarily a bad thing. It's because high vibe, high value buyers, meaning people, and what that really translates to is people who are emotionally intelligent, who have good emotional regulation, right? Who are open minded, people who have critical thinking skills, right? They're kind of been on their journey for a little bit of time and they're just looking for someone to help them, not save them. That's a really big distinction, right? So, when you have negative reviews, listen, sometimes it can feel like especially on Etsy or psychic hotlines, where it's like, they can just leave a review and it's not like you had like this sacred, energy exchange where you're offering them a gift or something like that in exchange for that. And they're going through the form, those answering those three questions and stuff like that. You know, high vibe buyers, we look at reviews and we do look at things like that, but I think that the way that we purchase is that like having a couple bad reviews is actually not going to make high vibe, high value buyers not want to invest in people. It just depends on what the review is. Like if the review is, oh, well, I bought this $300 course and then 6 months later and I never got it. Well, yeah, I'm not going to purchase there. But if the review was something like, oh, I purchased this 3 month package and with this person and we met 3 times. Yeah, they look at what's actually said, right? Exactly. And they say something along the lines of they gave them 3 stars because they really wish that it was 6 sessions instead of 3 sessions or something like that. That's not a negative review. That's buyer's remorse, right? And so, we look at what's actually being said and we use those critical thinking skills. So we tend to look at the review system, spiritual life coaching people, we tend to look at the review system a little differently. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about before I leave you guys off today is how to weave in client success stories. Okay. So, how can we move just beyond just posting like, copy pasting what people are saying in a fancy meme? Like if you don't have I think we talked about this before, but if you don't already, I want you to look at your reviews and I want you to pull out the most important sentences and I want you to create some stylized images on Canva with them. And so that way you have some like decorative, really pretty stylized branded images that convey people's positive experiences with you, right? But how can we also weave into the storytelling process? So maybe some days you're putting out a post that's motivational in nature, right? Whenever I'm sitting down and creating a post, I'm like, okay, is this post going to motivate people? What is my intention? Do I want this post to motivate people? Do I want this post to inspire people? Or do I want to educate people? Or do I want to do like some combination of all three? And usually I try to just do three individual separate ones because they maintain the singular idea better. It's just easier for people's attention span to absorb information when there's a singular idea. Okay. So let's say I wanna put out a post, and so maybe I don't wanna do anything educational, I don't wanna write a blog post or anything like that, but I know I need to put a post out and talk about my business and do an indirect marketing. So, when you're talking about client success stories, it's kind of like an indirect marketing because you're telling a story. Storytelling is such an important part of branding and marketing because storytelling, is a non-confrontational way, an indirect way to teach a lesson, to inspire people, to motivate people without them having to be part of that process. It's more of like allowing people to just kind of like view what's going on in your business without actually having to take part in that. And that can be really helpful, especially for people who are chronic lurkers or, people that you have loving stalkers where they follow everything, but they never really take action, they never engage, or they never enroll or something like that. So this can be a really good way to get people off of the indecision and to get them to enroll, right? Because it makes it more relatable. So I'll give you an example. So let's say I'm a psychic development coach and Um, I help people tap into their clairvoyance. Okay, so I help people learn how to utilize clairvoyance and learn how to visualize and shamanic journey and utilize their clairvoyance. Okay, so that's me. So now I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna be like, okay, what kind of post do I want to put out today? So I don't want to do anything educational. I'm not feeling academic in any way. I don't want to have to research anything. I just want to write something from my heart. So I'm gonna post out something inspirational, right? So I'm gonna think back, what have I done lately that has really inspired me, but also inspired the people that I've worked with? So I'm gonna put out a post and I'm gonna think, okay, well, I just got done working with this one client. We worked together for, say, 3 months, and I was helping them with their clairvoyance. And so I might start off my post by saying something along the lines of, everybody kind of struggles with tapping into their clairvoyance and if you are the type of person that really struggles with like visualization, there are techniques and strategies, that you can utilize to work on those skills. So it's kind of like first you kind of want to address the pain point, right? So the pain point in someone who is specializing in helping people develop their clairvoyance is that, well, the pain point is what, guys, is that they struggle with their getting consistent results, or they struggle with actually visualizing, or they struggle with shifting their consciousness to a point where they can drop everything around them in order to have a visualization experience, right? And so someone who isn't able to do that consistently or isn't able to have consistent clairvoyant experiences, their pain point is that they, whether they can't make the time for it, whether they can't seem to shift their trance states, whether they struggle with building the image inside their head. That's where someone like a coach can really help them, because you can walk them through, guided meditations, you can walk them through guided visualizations, you can help them kind of expand out, pull the picture together. Like one way you could is doing a guided visualization where you're helping them and you're telling them, okay, now you're in a forest and now you can see the trees and now you can smell things. And so having a guide there, like a clairvoyant guide to help you build those images and build that muscle up, will help people. So I could be like, okay, inspirational. So I'm going to think back to this last client I had, and and I'm not going to use their name or anything, like, obviously, like, what I really don't want people is when I do client success stories, I do change some information around so that's like less identifiable, because we're all really close in here. So, if I say something identifiable, you might know who it is, but privacy is always confidentiality is the most important thing for me. Like, my goal is not to share the private details of what happened in our session, but just to share like the overall how the energy was changed, or what are some techniques that we utilized that I teach in order to do that, right? So that should always be the intention when you're sitting down to create these posts. Um, and so I'll be like, I was thinking back to this one client, um, and they struggled with being able to build an image. Okay, let's say that they struggled with being able to visualize things. And so over the course of 3 months, I'm writing the post. Over the course of 3 months, we started working together, and I helped them with my techniques that to help build their visualization. And now 3 months later, they're able to visualize a lot easier. They're messaging me that they're getting their own spontaneous clairvoyant visions, that their tarot readings are even deeper because they're able to clairvoyantly connect with the tarot cards, or now they're starting to see auras and things like that. So as you're working with people, you kind of want to keep a mental list of like all of your clients' wins, right? All of the wins or all of the achievements that your clients have, and make a mental note of that, and it's always nice to do that with your clients too. And be like, at the end of a 3 month or 6 month package, you can be like, well, these are all the things that we've done together. That should be really, you should be really proud of this. This is where you started and this is where you are now. And so, and then leaving off the post is like, if you struggle with this as well, then call to action, right? Enroll in this course, message me to book a one-on-one session, download this free gift that will give you 5 simple steps to enhance your clairvoyance r- right now within 5 minutes or something like that. So that's kind of like how you can use indirect selling, weaving in those clients success stories, and I would do that, at least maybe once a month, doing that, at least incorporating that as part of your marketing strategy. So if you're like, you've created all the educational content that you want, you've released your YouTube videos, you've done your podcast, and you're like, I know I want to write something, but I want to write it intuitively. These are the best, in my opinion, the best types of client testimonials, client success stories to weave and to add into your marketing when you feel that it's lacking heart, when you feel that it's starting to lack soul. Does that make any sense at all? Now, does anybody have any questions about how to get? I'm checking comments right here. Does anybody have any questions about anything I've said today? Does anybody have any questions about how to get good reviews? Does anybody have any clarifying questions about how to weave in client success stories into your marketing? Brittany says, I had it happen too. Oh, the scamming thing, a deck creators page. Copies his name and follows who follows him because people get excited about the actual person, hopefully following. But yeah, that's the way to suck them in, right? Oh, Brittany says, what made me pull the trigger on your life coaching program was how much of a person you are. Everyone is used to the specialized spiritual wording. You just spoke. And I joined for coaching, but your program got me writing. That's amazing. I really want, everybody to find their voice. I think that's like, um setting aside, the money, and setting aside the freedom, and setting aside all the reasons why we run a business, right? To build a legacy and things like that. I think one of the core reasons why I love what I do so much is because I really want to help people find their voice. And I think that's so important because I spent so long in my life feeling like I had no voice, feeling like I was a victim, feeling like nobody wanted to listen to me, feeling like I couldn't did you guys know I dropped out of college because I dropped out of college because we got to the English or public speaking, and it came time for me to do my public speaking and I dropped out. I really felt like I didn't have a voice. I really felt like you know, I've always struggled with talking to people. There was a point in my life, you guys might not believe this, but there was a point in my life where I couldn't even make phone calls because my anxiety was so bad. Like I could not call someone. I could not um talk to people on the phone. There was a point in my life where I couldn't even look people in the eye, you know? And I understand now that those are things that are related to having Asperger's, and I understand now that that's, being on the autism spectrum, and I understand now that that's trauma, right? Well, the reason why I wasn't able to talk on the phone with people is because my my father was in prison, and he would call, and I would get those calls from, the penitentiary, and they would freak me out so bad that I developed like a phobia. And then I had like, I'm just kind of spilling my heart out for you guys right now, but and then I had um, alcoholic adults in my life that would get blasted, and they would call, and I would be a child, and they'd start abusing me over the phone. And it's I think we all have these things. I think we all have these reasons um why we're scared, right? But I think that having a business and learning how to teach and learning how to express yourself is one of the most healing things that you will ever do in your entire life, right? Yeah, right. Yeah. I dropped out too. Part of my reason was a learning disability held me back. You are so relatable. Yeah. Oh, thank you. I love you guys too so much. Hey, join me back here in about 5 minutes. I need to give you guys a really important announcement. This is seriously, seriously important. It's bittersweet. It's going to be a bittersweet announcement, but so many layers to expression, right? Yeah, and, helping us to become a whole healed person. But come back in here about 5 minutes from now. I'm gonna do a live. I'm gonna talk about, what's been going on, in my life. I'm gonna talk about, like, what's been changing, what is going to be changing, what is gonna be coming up this year, and, yeah, so I hope to see you guys in the group in about 5 minutes. Let me just say, I have thoroughly, thoroughly enjoyed doing this podcast with you all. You guys coming in and joining me on Mondays is the highlight of my week. I love you guys so much. I cannot wait to do season 2. I hope you guys will stay committed. I hope that, doing this over the past 3 months has really instilled within you a good habit to check in on your business on Mondays, whatever you do with that. But just remember, Mondays are all about magic and marketing. And if you can change your mindset to love Mondays, then you can do anything. Do you guys understand what I'm saying by that? If you can change your mindset to adore and love and look forward to Mondays, then there is nothing else that you guys can do. So, yeah. Okay, thank you guys. I will see you guys in the group here in just a little bit. Thank you for joining me. This wraps up season 1. I'll see you for season 2.